right, so welcome to the show. We're actually in quite of a different setup than normally because we're actually in a very nice studio here. Normally it's either done through Zoom or something like that, or in a pretty bad place. But anyways, we're doing it here in this impressive studio. And I'm here with the group Gnosis. I got that right? Gnosis? Gnosis, yes. Which is the group behind the show Hedwig and the Angry Inch. And we have a whole host of people. We have both performers and band members. And so what we're going to do is that we're going to start kind of on this end here with you, Hafsten. You can introduce yourself, and then we kind of complete the circle, and then we can keep on going.
Good afternoon, World Wide Web. My name is Hafstein. I'm an actor. I'm an actor in this show. I play Hedwig.
Right.
Yes, hi. I'm Halldóra, and I play Hedwig's husband Itzhak, and I'm also a producer and creative mind behind the show.
Hi, I'm Phil. I'm part of the band. I play bass in the show and also do the third voice.
I'm Daniel. I play the drums, and I think I scream one time.
Yeah. Good to know.
I'm Sebastian. I play the guitar, and I may have one line at some point.
Good. They all count.
Yeah, hello. My name is Dagur, and in the show I'm the keyboardist and backup singer, and I play Skitsepoo, which is the band director in the story.
It's a big group of both performers and band members because the show itself, Hedwig and the Angry Inch, is essentially just you guys on stage performing it. It's an overarching story, obviously, but it's all performed there, kind of like a concert. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Sure.
Yeah. And just to kind of, before we get into sort of the main questions, where did the idea come about, and how did you guys set it up, both the performing side of it and the band side?
Mm-hmm. Maybe start with the first step in the process. Halldóra will.
So the co-producer Hrafn, they were always talking about how they wanted to do the show one day. And this question came over the course of a few years, I want to do the show one day. And then one time I just stopped them and I said, why don't we just do it? So we were very naive and we just jumped the line, got the licensing, and then realized, now we actually have to put a show together.
Yeah, you kind of conditioned yourself to do it. Yeah, exactly. And so, because one of the reasons why I find this to be such an interesting production is because your main venue is Gaukurinn, which is a bar downtown in Iceland, and it's not very common to see whole musicals being put up in bars. How did that come about?
So the original production of Hedwig was very small, and the creator John Cameron Mitchell used to workshop it in different bars. So it's kind of punk rock and roll, and we decided to keep with that idea, have it really small and intimate.
That's perfect, yeah. And because we were talking earlier, and you spoke a bit about the process of doing it. So you spoke about sending an email, and from there on, how did that go? So I just sent an email to the venue, and I really didn't know who was behind it. And I ended up working with a guy, Maggi, one time. And then we realized who we were, and he realized I had sent the mail. And he told me, your email was shit. I really love the show, and I like you, but you come on, you have to send me another email. And so I did. I don't think it was better than the last one, but I really tried. Mm-hmm. First show and everything. And yeah, he just decided to trust us, even though we're the first ever musical at Gaukurinn. That's fantastic. And I find that to be such a good story because since obviously Vespertine's theme is about young creatives, this is certainly a part of the sort of process you would go about getting to do the thing that you want to do. But let's continue kind of further on. But before we do that, talking about Hedwig and the Angry Inch, if you guys don't know, it's a show. It was an off-Broadway show that then became a Broadway show that then became a film by the actor whose name I forgot. What's his name?
John Cameron Mitchell.
John Cameron Mitchell, yes. And it's a show about. Well, maybe it's best if you guys explain it.
Yes. Oh, everyone is looking at me.
Yeah.
So, I don't really know what it's about. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's a very hard show to explain.
It's very hard to explain. So it's essentially like it's a character piece. It's about Hedwig, which is a character created by John Cameron Mitchell, as we said earlier, and also Stephen Trask, the one who did the music for the original show. It's about first a young boy from East Berlin who moves then later to America and had like a botched sex operation, like had a botched sex change, and lives now in the slumps in like the trailer park in
Kansas.
Kansas,
yes.
Thank you.
In the 80s, no?
In the 80s, so it's set in the 90s,
Yeah.
1980s then.
And Hedwig's dream was like always like to become a rock star and of course just to belong.
Yeah.
But she never felt like she did belong anywhere. And in the show is just like Hedwig and her like bands of like misfits playing to like a very small audience, and Hedwig like they're singing songs, and Hedwig is like always like interrupting the concert by like telling her story.
Telling your stories, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very long monologues.
Very long monologues.
Kind of akin to stand-up comedy in a way.
Yes.
Right,
Telling
yeah,
jokes and
exactly.
stories.
There are a lot of like the Hedwig elements, like the stand-up, the music, the rock and roll. It like we have like been seeing that a lot at Gaukurinn.
Yes,
to,
exactly.
Like this extent.
Yeah, exactly. Because obviously Gaukurinn has a bit of a history now with drag performances, and you explaining that, it kind of shows that that the overall piece in itself kind of encapsulates drag in its essence. But I mean, we'll certainly be talking about that. But I think that this obviously being a bit of a cult saga, really, but it kind of has its effect to the people that it matters most to, the LGBTQ community. But what was it about Hedwig's story that inspired you to make the show in general? That gave you the confidence to go and do it?
I really always thought it was an interesting story. I think I saw it for the first time when I was 16, and it always stuck with me. And then I met Hrafn when we were working together, and the story had stuck with them too. And we kind of had this common interest, and it had only been done once in Iceland before, so we thought it was in like
It was many years ago.
Yeah, 2001.
Yeah, so it's almost like 20 years.
Yeah.
20 years ago, yeah, because obviously the film came out in 2001.
Yeah.
And so you found yourself probably, obviously the story then, and then maybe it's kind of low budget-ish type of effort to it. And I really like that. And so in terms of that, obviously with the band then, that comes into it. And how did the band come about into the project? How did you get a whole band for that?
Well, I am a drummer and started working with Halldóra and Hrafn, and they just kept going on and on about this musical, and they're looking for musicians, and it's like, hey, you're a drummer, maybe you want to do this?
Yeah.
And then I just came forward with the fact, like, hey, I have a whole rock band with me that can do the job.
Yeah.
So we offered. We had a show coming up. They came and saw us, and after the show, they were like, yes, we definitely want you to do this.
Perfect. Yeah.
And the little fun fact is that we had never, any of us had ever seen the movie.
The movie, the show,
we had no idea what we were getting into.
Anything about it.
What was your kind of reaction to it? What did you feel like? Because you since you've agreed to getting into it. What did you feel about it?
Just about when we finally watched the film, or just about doing the musical?
The film, knowing kind of what you're getting yourself into.
It was amazing. It was really, because we kind of started learning the songs, if I remember correctly, before we saw the film.
Yeah.
And we didn't really get what was going on.
It didn't make sense.
And then we saw the film and was like, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah, it tied everything together.
Yeah.
And it was it's such a weird film, such a weird story, but it's...
In some ways, it's kind of like a dark comedy.
Yeah.
It's very real, very gritty. There's a lot of emotions there.
Very crude.
Really, it really came as a surprise how weird it is, and I loved that about it.
Perfect.
He even he has a tattoo here.
Oh, really?
On my leg.
Of the symbol.
It's really big.
Wow.
That tattoo.
Yeah, it's a big commitment there of getting such a huge memory attached to that. Perfect. So, but in that case, because then I can kind of move on to obviously the theater people, but since I have the band here that have now gotten a bit of a taste of theater, when did you kind of first realize you wanted to make theater in general? What got you into that?
Theater.
To make theater, or what is it that you like about it that you got into it?
Like the emotional effect it has on you. Like when I see like an amazing show that utilizes all like the elements that make a good play, like lighting, dance, music, acting. Like when everything comes together, it's just like this. This is, I don't know if I'm saying this word right, cacophony or something.
Catharsis.
No, not that.
No,
Epiphany.
Cacophony.
Cacophony.
Cacophony of sounds.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like it, and it's also very spiritual.
Yeah.
Like I love that theater. Like affects my whole body.
Exactly.
And I really like.
And there's certainly some of that in the show.
Yes.
With a lot of emotions and all that.
Yes,
Yeah.
very much. I always drink like 2 beers after the show just to cool me down.
Also in the crowd, people are crying and
Yeah.
going crazy.
Yeah, I remember like on the 5th show or 4th show, even the sound guy, he was still crying.
Wow. You've done your job well if that's
Really?
the case.
I
Yeah.
did not know.
Him and Rapp looked at each other,
I
you
didn't
know
even
which
know he
scene, and they
cried.
were crying.
Oh.
That is gorgeous. That is quite, yeah.
That's
When
all
you
you.
got the sound
When
guy
you
to
got-
cry.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's kind of sounds like it's something you've shared with what you've, that emotional connection and being able to do this in front of people and getting the emotions from them. But obviously you're doing it from the perspective of the form of the musical, which is obviously has all of its own tropes and mechanics and all that. But with this, obviously, the subject matter and the character, it has its unique spin. And so, what is it about the form of the musical that makes that show great, but also just that it makes it so that the musical has endured? And what's your favorite thing about it?
The thing is, it's not really like a musical. It is a musical, of course, because it has like songs, singing, and a little bit of dancing here and there, and like an emotional center that like the music is a part of that emotional center. But like how it is like in like classical musicals, in the world that they present, the singing is like just that's part of the world.
Yeah.
Like you sing when you don't know how to talk, and everyone in the world accepts that. But for this show, it's supposed to be, the setting is real life. You are seeing this. You're seeing this woman who has lost everything just break down at a concert, essentially.
And also that way we can use like each venue. If we're playing in a bar, we can use the venue kind of as the set,
Yeah.
because in the movie it happens in these venues.
Yeah.
So that way we can kind of like make a musical without maybe putting an extra work into making a set. We already have the set.
Which is the bar itself.
It's the bar itself.
Yeah. And then obviously from your point, the band's perspective, as is the things with musicals, there's this sort of rule that if it's not, it's the sort of when you've got the emotions in the right place, they have to be sung, and then you have to dance. It's the story has reached that focal point that no amount of words can actually describe it, and it actually needs to be performed in such a way. So even with such a small venue and with such a real story, I think that the way that the music picks it up needs to capture that emotion. So you feel like that's what makes it a show in your eyes, that you feel like this could be for you, in terms of this could be a sort of musical that we could do. Because obviously a small scale one like this, did you ever feel like doubts about the venue itself, or
not the venue, but I think I kind of doubted that we were
the actors.
able. No. That me and Rapp were offered the job of like being essentially like the bosses. Like I had recurring nightmares night after night that we wouldn't be able to finish the production. Like night after night, but we did it.
That's good.
And it went really well.
Yeah.
Dude.
That's perfect. So
We just practiced a lot,
Yeah, we did
and of
practice
course
a lot.
that helped. And we just planned it ahead of time, and we just made it a tight show.
from
So-
that.
From that.
Exactly. So what would be your sort of main takeaway from performing in such an intimate venue? Like what would you kind of encourage people to keep in mind doing this sort of show?
Well, for me, it's that I've always been a big musical fan, and always wanted to be in musicals, and so it was a nice opportunity for me to like kind of try that for the first time, to be a part of a very like tight show that had like a theatrical focus to it, and to be like the first performers to actually make a musical type show in Gaukurinn.
Within the venue.
Because it's a rock, metal, LGBTQ plus focused venue, but it's also one of the oldest working venues in Iceland.
That's exactly, and that's why I haven't personally seen a full-blown musical within a bar setting ever, really. But the fact that it comes from Iceland, in that bar particularly, doesn't come as a surprise. But it's certainly a special thing, and I wish it would be more of a prevalent thing, really. So you guys would agree to that having that sort of special thing of making it the sort of the first show within that venue, and putting a bit of a stamp on the show in total.
It was very fun explaining to my family how this show was going to like function. So I'm playing a woman. I'm playing a trans woman. Well, I'm in drag, but I'm still me. But I'm playing this woman, and we're at Gaukurinn, which is, and my dad was like, Gaukurinn, where I was drunk, 15 years old. That's the place. A lot of history, right? So it's very fun to have like this. To have it like have this like little badge.
Exactly.
And you're also playing Tommy Gnosis.
Yes,
which makes it more complex.
Yes, and it's very hard to explain.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
You're basically playing everyone in Hedwig's life.
Her mother,
husband.
It's amazing watching you have a three-way conversation with yourself, like turning your head. But
But it works very well for us, I think, because so that's why it's not like a complete theatrical musical. It's more like a concept show, like a concept show.
Totally a concept musical.
So we don't have to do all the visual stuff. We just have to do the music, and then we have to do everything that ties the songs together, and that creates like this whole.
The emotional center of the show is very buried deep in the music. From my perspective,
that's
listening to the lyrics and like just me performing and like singing these songs, like it, so many emotions at once.
And that kind of leads, because as you were alluding to earlier, the fact that you are playing different characters that are of different gender and different relation to the main character, which is obviously kind of what the show is about. But what were the most sort of important things before going into the show to keep in mind about that whole aspect, designing a show on gender bending and drag?
First off, we had to find the perfect Hedwig.
Yes.
And we really did find the perfect Hedwig.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you had to learn, like, the script is 64 pages long. Mostly of monologues that only you perform. So we just kind of like tossed you up there.
It's good to like mention that you guys did an audition. So I can't like imagine how hard it must have been for like to, because it's so weird because this character is like it goes beyond gender, and it's just such a, for me, like performing and doing a show like gender bendy show, like for me it's like very important because I've always been like in touch with my femininity, and have gotten, don't want to say shit for it, but like some form of
reaction,
which is like, which don't have to be a reaction, you know.
Yeah.
And like after doing the show, like the term gender is like it's gotten more and more foreign for me, and I'm more like I have noticed like how like I'm much more like unapologetic about how I present myself.
Me too.
Sense,
It also happened with me. After the show, it really helped me get in touch with my feminine side, because you play it kind of like that kind of a character, and that's kind of the whole like type of characters that are in the band and performing.
It's a band of misfits.
Misfits, Well, it's so and obviously seeing that every night, seeing that emotional story and the roller coaster, it obviously has an effect. But it's obviously then, as we've kind of talked about before, the fact that drag in its own right is about going on stage and being unapologetic about this sort of gender bending and taking on this form of music, stand-up comedy, and dancing and whatnot, and kind of opening yourself up, which so that was obviously your main goal, obviously, because with the show itself, it's very much that type of story, and the original Broadway show or the off-Broadway show was kind of similar, was it, or did you change anything?
We have the same script, but we had late nights of practices, and we had kind of these group jokes among us. We kind of put them into the show.
Right, yeah.
Like, I remember this one practice, like, I think Dagur said something, and everyone was just crying. Like, and, like, every practice, when you said that same thing, everyone was just crying. And we just put it in the show.
Wait, what moment are you talking about?
The Nazis.
Made a very tasteful Nazi joke.
Really in touch with the material.
So you can say that the rehearsals for, a very, very set script, obviously, kind of wasn't... It created moments that you felt like, because of the way the creative process was, and it obviously it's being its own script and its own thing, but when it came into your hands and it was your show, you felt like you had the license to kind of put in.
I think we added a lot of our own touches.
Yeah.
Also in the music. Like
100%.
It's just like our way of making the show, and our way of like, because we had to find a way to fit it to Gaukurinn.
And make it a little bit more modern.
Yeah,
like
make it a little bit more modern.
Script,
exactly.
Some words that are maybe problematic today, and
also
like
more relevant to Iceland.
Exactly.
We had to make it relevant to Iceland, of course.
So let's talking about this has been very interesting, but let's kind of get to know you guys a bit more with a sort of a quick question. Since we have so many people, which is going to be this one, because I think it's going to be a pretty controversial topic. Maybe. Well, what's your favorite musical?
Oh no, this is the hardest question for every theater kid. But the musical that had like the most influence on me, I would say Hamilton. Yeah,
right.
it's a normie pick.
Yeah.
I know, but it's such a good show.
You're such a poser.
It's such a poser, yeah. But,
Mine. Les Mis ruined my life. Like, I was a normal person who wasn't really into musical. So now it's my whole personality, apparently, according to everyone. So yeah, Les Mis.
Perfect.
I haven't really seen many musicals, which is also an interesting story in itself, because back when I was in high school and stuff, and even before that, I always loved seeing like snippets of musicals and like people dancing. Always loved music, and it was so like entertaining to watch a musical. And everyone's kind of dancing and yeah, woo. But then all like my friends were always like, "Oh, that's gay," you know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
So
just
gay.
for
It's so
girls,
gay,
you
man.
know.
Yeah.
Oh, this sucks. And
Little
you
did
know, I was
they
always like,
know.
okay.
You were like in one of the gayest musicals.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's
To
probably
say
the
so
gayest
myself.
musical in Iceland.
So I never got around to watching. I think I've maybe watched one other in like a music lesson at school. Can't even remember the name. Some 80s musical. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah.
So I just gotta say Hedwig and the
Hairspray.
Angry Inch
Hedwig and
is
the-
my favorite.
Hairspray and the Angry Inch.
Yes.
Oh, I've seen Grease too.
Yeah.
That was cool.
I also haven't seen many musicals. I've seen Grease and Hairspray, and
Yeah.
Hedwig, of course, is great.
Yeah.
Do Disney movies count?
Yeah.
Yes, of
Oh,
course
yeah.
they do.
I love The Lion King.
Hell
if
yeah.
that counts.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's a
true.
musical.
That
Yeah.
is, yeah, full
Yeah.
blown.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I think I watched one evening when I was, I don't know, 15 or maybe even less, The Producers.
The producers, now that is pretty
And
good.
that was just like, this is such a good thing. I was always confused. No one knew about this thing.
Yeah.
And so yeah, this one, I think that's,
The producers, that's a pretty good pick.
It's
yeah,
a very good pick.
Yeah.
I really like it.
Yeah, I'm a big musical fan, but I was always like the fondest of rock musicals.
Of rock musicals,
like
yeah.
like singing high notes and having like complicated, harsh, like heavy music. So I think it's Jesus Christ Superstar.
Jesus Christ
Ah,
Superstar,
that's
yeah.
a good
And it
one.
wasn't. It was mostly because of the instrumental music itself.
Yeah.
It was like progressive rock.
Yeah, it's like prog rock.
And like theatrical progressive rock. And it's like super complicated. It was like what was hip at the time.
Yeah.
And then it just put some story and really emotional like vocals over it. And also the main character, Jesus, of course.
Oh,
Which
you're
I've-
talking Jesus
Yes,
of
he was also the
Christ.
main. Yeah, he was also the main character in the Bible or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that one. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's because of those heavy metal and prog rock influences in the movie and the musical itself that is my favorite one.
Such a fun way to tell the story as well.
yeah, definitely. Very memorable and
Yeah.
unique.
Mhm.
So, let's go back to the show itself, because obviously we've kind of talked about how it came to be, the venue, getting the band for, and finding the perfect Hedwig, and then embracing the role and the gender bending and the drag. But what sort of difficulties, either in any of those elements, or just in general, did you experience about putting up the show, and that others, not about this particular show, but in any show in this venue, would like to know?
I'm just gonna go first. So, as you guys know, I have a very bad poker face. And I'm playing a very serious role. Like, I have to be like sulking for 2 hours. And I think
Such a long time to be sulking.
yeah, like I smile when I talk. It's really hard. So, and unfortunately, I find Tati to be very funny.
He is very
funny.
yeah.
And like,
Charismatic and
so
So
talented.
handsome.
And there's, like in every single rehearsal, I could not keep a poker face.
But lo and behold, every performance,
I got
you
it.
kept a straight face.
I mean, there's this one place in the show where you get in my face and try to get a reaction, and you kind of like grab my penis and bark in my face.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing I've ever had to done.
Yeah.
So that is a
my
feature of
God.
the show. She
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
yes,
Yes.
the-
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
because Halldóra is playing my husband. So
Yes,
Halldóra is also
exactly.
in boy drag.
Right.
Yeah.
I
While
see,
I am.
yeah. And how was that felt? Just a kind of quick one. How was that felt playing a man?
It was cool.
It was cool.
Pretty cool.
You were pretty hot, dude.
Yeah, I'm a really hot dude. Thank you.
The
It's-
crowd loved you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all in the eyebrows.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah.
We all kind of had to be sulking, and then Hatte would improvise jokes that we hadn't heard
Right,
like, a
yeah.
million times.
Oh my
And I
God.
oh my god, I had to turn away so often to
Yeah.
just laugh back to the back, so
Yeah.
people wouldn't see.
So me and Phil are the worst combo, and we sat together the entire show, and we're the one who loses our poker face.
Yeah.
And then somebody starts like Like you know, the mouth is kind of like, ooh,
Like-
and then I have to laugh as well.
Like we had this turning chairs, like stools, and we could like, and Daniel.
Yeah, they always
especially-
turn and look at me.
Yeah, you were right behind me. I was always turning and having my hand in my mouth because I couldn't stop like smiling or stuff. And I just looked at you.
But I guess that's kind of the nature of the show, with it being so brutally honest and then a bit dark in places, and then being very comical, and then having a live performance as well, where you know every night is something a bit different.
Yeah, the audience play a very important part in the show because I'm telling them this story, and they're like, and their reaction to the story also like affects the character as well. So we have to be very sharp to like pick up any elements from the audience that we can like use later.
And how was it performing? Because you performed the show in English then, or
Yes.
And how was that?
It was very fun. I was very nervous.
Right.
You also had a German accent the entire time.
Yes. That you can't forget that.
Academic.
Yes.
Academic.
I couldn't say one word.
Right.
It was
Academic.
yes. You said academic.
Yeah, you say
I said academic.
every single time. Not in the show, but like in rehearsals.
Well, didn't I say it once? I
Maybe
think
once.
I
Maybe.
said it once. Academic career was over.
Right.
And, it was just
There's a lot of different things going on at the same time.
Yeah, it's
not your
very-
first language, different
yes.
accent. Yeah.
Do you have a line or two in German also?
yeah.
I also butchered that very often in rehearsals.
Yeah.
It was. I think it was like 5 days to like the premiere, and Phil like corrected me. That's not how you say this.
I realized for the first time what you were actually saying.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's the word. Okay, no, you don't pronounce it like that.
Okay. Well, so with that kind of been gone over in terms of like the show and the difficulties with it being live and all that, and it being drag, kind of feels very much like a sort of a proper drag show, which is why it's probably endured within the community. But the art itself of drag and performing this sort of gender bending and all that, it's obviously become very, very popular these days. It's kind of definitely out in the open. It's definitely a topic of great controversy in some areas in the world. Although I think here in Iceland, it's very much people are pleased to see it. It's very popular. But why do you think, kind of going into the future of encouraging people to not just go and see these sorts of shows, but to embrace the art form that it is, why do you think that people should still be excited about drag?
Because it's fucking awesome. Sorry,
Yeah.
it's drag is such an amazing way to just shut down your brain and just open up your heart and watch like a beautiful performance of like this and the gender construct like breaking down for like just a little moment. That's like seeing a drag show at Gaukurinn, for example, is so fun because you're in this little bubble of like a gay utopia where everyone is friendly, everyone is in on the joke, everyone is loving and caring, and
For me, it's about like self-expression in like a healthy way, and body positivity a lot. Because I recently started doing like burlesque and drag. I'm in a group called Sodabrok.
Right. Yeah.
And we do these variety shows.
Yeah.
And it definitely helps people get in touch with themselves, sexually or otherwise.
Or just your identity.
Or just your identity, and you can kind of be free on stage if you're not afraid to do it.
Perfect. Yeah.
I think like in our band also, North Nagal, we have had some shows with would just be cross-dressing.
Yeah.
But this wasn't as a statement as it works in drag show. It was just I just want to put a dress with sparkles.
Yeah.
And we did one show where I changed outfit 3 times in the same show between songs. We just had some like choreography how to hide me while I just change the dress and then do something different.
So it's a bit of an addiction, really. Once you've done it once, you want to do it again and again.
But I did this before we even knew that Hedwig existed.
Right. Yeah.
So it just came as a natural thing to do because it's just fun. You're on stage.
Yeah.
You do whatever you want, and so I guess all of this is very. I think people should be allowed to think it's possible and to do it.
Of course.
That's just fun. You're just putting up a show.
Yeah, putting up a show.
So it's just about setting up in a way we surprise people. That's what I like to do, surprising people, and then seeing something that they would not expect to see.
Perfect.
I just want to say, I think drag kings deserve more love.
Yes.
They do.
They do.
Yeah,
They're amazing.
Yeah.
because like the theater in itself, like ever since the ancient Greeks, like women weren't
Going
allowed
back to the Greeks.
Yes, weren't allowed to perform. So, and that's also prevalent in Shakespeare time. And if you look at drag characters today, especially in musicals, it's always men cross-dressing.
Yeah.
That's also why I really like Hedwig, because it kind of destroys all gender barriers. I got to be in drag and that was fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's fun.
That's
it's
great.
hard.
So you kind of leapt to the opportunity of.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's perfect. Well, I think kind of as a whole in terms of that and with just time in general, I think that's about it. But I thank you very much for coming and speaking with me. This is Gnosis. And with the show. Gnosis, yes.
G is silent.
The G is silent.
Yes.
So Gnosis and Hedwig with the show Hedwig and the Angry Inch. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Woohoo!
Thank you.